It might not be as simple as you think to choose a microphone for your snare. Hi, I'm Ulf at HoboRec. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about choosing the right microphone for your snare recording. And I'm going to get some help from the drummer of TC Suite called Kenta. And we're going to try out some different microphones here. And I'm going to show you some critical details that you need to be aware of. You can find tons of shootouts on YouTube where they try a bunch of different microphones on a snare. And you can figure out what tone you like the best. But if you've seen my video about choosing microphone for toms, it's kind of the same principle. You have to be aware of what it sounds like off axis and the bleed and everything that comes into it, because that can be just as important as the tone. And I have been in situations where I would choose a microphone that may not have the exact sound I want, but the bleed sounds better and it's less hi-hat and the hi-hat is not sounding as harsh and stuff. So we're just gonna do a little shootout here, like 4 or 5 different microphones, and we'll see what you think. So I ended up with 6 microphones for this shootout, and the first one here is MILAB VM44, which is one of my favorite microphones for toms. It's a small diaphragm condenser microphone. Next one is a SENNHEISER 541, which is a hypercardioid dynamic microphone. Then we have the CROWLEY and TRIPP bidirectional ribbon microphone. And we have ELECTRO Voice DS35, which is a cardioid dynamic microphone. We have the classic SHURE SM57 and also a SHURE Beta 56, which is a dedicated drum microphone. So it's kind of interesting to have it in there too. We're going to start listening to the SHURE SM57, since that's probably a well-known reference point for most people. First, now when we listen through all the microphones, we're just going to listen to the closed mic snare. And I want you to pay close attention not only to the tonality of the snare itself, but also how the hi-hat sounds, how the ride sounds, and also the toms and everything else. Worth to notice maybe that I have some compression on the snare mic just to bring out the differences. So here we go. Okay, so that was the close mic'd snare with all the microphones. So now let's have a listen to the snare mic together with the rest of the kit. I will take out the close mic once every time the beat is going, so you can hear exactly how the bleed affects the overall drum sound. As boring as it might seem, I actually think the SM57 is the microphone that would suit this particular recording the absolute best. It had totally acceptable off-axis bleed, and the tonality of the microphone I felt was the most natural boost to the overall drum sound when we kicked it in and out. So going from no close mic to with the close mic on, it didn't change the character that much. It just made it come closer and get more punch. Next to that, I think the MILAB VM44 was pretty good, except that for this particular snare drum, it brought out some of the ugly ringing. I'm not exactly sure why that is. Maybe it's because it's a condenser microphone, so it's a bit more sensitive to surrounding sounds. But the off-axis bleed sounds really, really great. So when we kick it in and out with the overheads, you almost don't hear it at all because it blends together so smoothly. So if I was to use the MILAB BM44, I would probably have to put some moon gel or dampening just right underneath the microphone to make that ringing a little bit less dramatic. The Sennheiser 541 was also really good when it came to the off-axis bleed, but on the other hand, it was also pretty dark. So I imagine when you have to turn up a little bit of high end on the EQ there, you're gonna get some problems with the hi-hat and stuff. The Shure Beta 56, I was pretty surprised that the off-axis bleed was that much because it's a dedicated drum microphone and it's supposed to be hypercardioid. So I thought the off-axis rejection would be a lot better. It sounds fine, a little bit more top end than necessary, I guess, and that probably is what brings out the harsh bleed. In this case, I'd prefer the 57 over this one. At one point, the Electro Voice DS35 was actually my favorite snare microphone because its tonality. It has a nice top end, and also when you put it pretty close, it has some proximity effect, so it gets a lot of the body of the snare drum. But after a while, I figured out that the off-axis bleed from the hi-hat was too much for most stuff if it's like not mellow music. So when I record like harder bands, I can't use it anymore. It becomes too much of a hassle to try to clean that up in post, which I don't really like to do. I want to keep it as natural as possible. My least favorite microphone in this test was the CROWLEY and TRIPP. I kind of thought it would have better off-axis rejection since it's a figure of 8 microphone. When thinking about it now after the fact, I should probably have tried to place the microphone laying down instead, horizontally. Because of how the ribbon motor is physically constructed, it's long. So as far as I understand, the rejection is more tight on the sides than on the top and bottom. So if I would have laid it down, I would have had more rejection towards the hi-hat and towards the rim of the snare drum. Because as it is now, I feel like this microphone really, really brings out the ugly ringing of the snare. I could probably have experimented a bit with the placement of the microphones to make some of them perform a little bit better, but I wanted to keep the placement as much the same as possible across all microphones. I would also really appreciate to know what you think about this, any reflections, and also any tips on other microphones to check out for recording snares. So feel free to drop a line in the comment section. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like the content. Feel free to subscribe and comment and hit the like button, thumbs up if you liked it. If you want to help me out and get my videos in higher rankings. Anyways, bye-bye. See you next time. Cheers.